What's up, ladies and gents? So in this video, I'm gonna get back onto this roll cage. As you saw, I got these subframe connectors in here. So first things first, I'm gonna make a couple little patches for this area, for both sides, just to fill these holes. And then I'm gonna make these tubes that go down this way and connect to the subframe connectors. And then I gotta find the instructions, but I think door bars are next. And then I'll be making some tubes that go from these bars out to the front of the subframe. And for that, I'm definitely gonna need to kind of, assemble the front end to see where everything goes. But it looks like I have a pretty good shot from here to that bar and same on that side. So definitely want to see where the inner fender walls, sit, so I don't have any clearance issues, after these bars are fully welded in there. So I'm going to work on that. I'm also going to take the rest of this wiring out in here because I'm worried that it's going to get damaged and it's kind of in the way. So I'm going to work on that first and then bring the front end up here and hopefully find those instructions and then, really go full bore into this roll cage. Starting a job soon, so got to get some good progress on this fabrication stuff because I have a lot of time right now, and once I start work, I will not. So I'll catch up with you guys in a few minutes. Got all this wiring out of here along with the tail lights and the side marker lights. And one thing I want to say is when you're taking apart like some wiring, I did have to get it out. I had to take apart some of the crappy splices that were made. But be sure to, even if it seems obvious, be sure to just label it and maybe, make some sort of quick document on PowerPoint or something, just so when you're putting it together, you're not confused, because I don't know, it's not a good situation when you're trying to figure out wiring and you get it wrong, because it can ruin things, and a few minutes now could save you a lot of time in the future. So I'm going to take that down there and I'll get back with you guys in a couple minutes. Got the frickin' radiator support on here and fenders and doors up here. So brought the doors up because I am going to be doing the quarter panels on this car, and also working on the door bars. And I want to make sure that the door bars, aren't going to interfere with something critical on the door, and just make sure everything fits right before I fully weld the cage in, because basically once you weld it, it's pretty permanent. And by putting the doors on and then lining them up with these, it's going to allow me to cut this quarter panel off and make sure that the new quarter panel lands in the right spot, because basically when you cut these quarter panels off, the inner structure kind of becomes free. And if the door wasn't aligned, or if the door wasn't aligned to the rear quarter, then you could end up with a bad gap. And that actually kind of happened on the Prelude, but it wasn't bad, thankfully. So this time I've learned my lesson, and I'm going to do it correctly on both sides, and also, make the cage right. So right now, what I'm going to work on is throwing these fenders on here so I can see, where these bars are going to land. The front bars that go to the front of the subframe, because, it could easily interfere with these wheelhouses. So you got to be sure everything goes on there correctly. Otherwise, you'd end up modifying some of the sheet metal. So I'm going to work on that, and I will catch up with you guys here in a little bit. Got this driver's side on here, so everything seems to be okay with where the roll cage is going to go. It's just going to be pretty tight. You can see this hole right here is kind of what I'm going to use. I'm going to really, cut up into here, and the tube should be able to fit through there and go up to this area right here. It's definitely going to be tight, but if I open the door, you can kind of see where I can go. If you look through here, it's going to be kind of a tight shot. I don't know if you guys can see, but it'll definitely go right there, and definitely going to be some accurate cutting in there, but I think we can make it. And same type of situation I'd imagine on the other side. And when I shut this door, if you look, the door bar should be fine. can see there's plenty of space. Definitely might interfere with the door handle just a little bit, but such is life, you know, when you're putting a roll cage in here. So before I put, you know, these bars in here, I definitely have to weld the rest of this, at least on the bottom side, because it's gonna butt up in there and you want it all welded. So I'm gonna work on putting those in right now. I just kind of wanted to validate that I was gonna be able to make it with the roll cage through there, and I did, and I'm happy about that. So now it's on to making these bars, and then probably work on the door bars and then this front part later. So I'm gonna get on to those, and I might time lapse it, might not, we'll see. I might do one side and then time lapse the other like I did with the subframe connectors. So I'll show you guys the finished product on this side and then show you what to do on the other side. Got this bad unit in here, so it looks good. Definitely all the, you know, labor is involved in the cutting it to shape in this notch area, or, you know, shaping it with the, you know, die grinder. So I'm gonna jump on this other side and I'll kind of time lapse a little bit of the process there, and then once those are done I can move on to something else. This one definitely went about 3 or 4 times as fast, so this notch looks really good. So my methodology is kind of to cut it a little bit long, probably like an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch long. You know, I use the tape measure to kind of get the longest distance, and then start out with this top notch and you know, really use like a angle grinder with a cutoff wheel in it, and make your notches crudely, and then put like a grinding disc in there and cut them a little more, and, you know, come back and forth to the spot that you're going to be putting it in and checking it. And then once you get this notch pretty much dialed in, then I start to work on the bottom and shorten it up, you know, this way, and kind of creep up on, you know, the final length by grinding it. It's definitely kind of a brutal process, but you can see this thing fits in here pretty much freaking perfectly, which I'm stoked about. It's definitely hard to get the gap perfect in here, but that'll work, you know. Using a wire feed doesn't have to be that tight. If I was going to TIG weld it, I think it would be a little more critical, but using the Miller-Matic should be fine. So I'm going to weld this in here, and then we're on to like some door bars, and also got to get you know, these front tubes in here. I'm excited to get this done. Definitely not the most enjoyable thing, so we're getting it done and moving on to the next thing. Another frickin' bar has been added, so definitely making progress on this thing. So next step, you know, I'm gonna do swing outs on this. So basically you you know, notch it like I said and get it fitted in here. So I got that done, and now I'm basically gonna you know, decide where I want this piece that goes down here. And then I'm gonna put a piece of tape around it, and then cut it off with the Sawzall. And I'll do the same for up here. And then I'll weld in, or, you know, tack those in, and then basically take the thing that I cut out, which will be, you know, this bar here, and narrow it down, and then make sure, you know, slowly but surely creep up on the length it needs to be. And then weld the pieces on there, or put the bolt in the one down there, put the clevis in this one, and then basically kind of weld it all together. So definitely kind of a lot of work getting this fitted on here. This part is kind of simple and easy. I want to sit in here and kind of decide which spot is going to be best to put, especially the one up here, because, you know, you're going to be pulling it, so you kind of want it close. And there's a rule that it has to be 8 inches from here, and also a rule that this bar, when you're sitting in there, has to go in between your shoulder and your elbow. So, you know, things to consider. So I'm gonna get to work on getting these clevises in there. Got these, you know, edges cleaned up on both of these. So now I have these, you know, just kind of stuck in here with some electrical tape on both sides. And then what I did is I took the tape measure and measured from, you know, this high spot to leave myself a little room on each one. And I got around 38.5. So, you know, translated that onto this. So I'll be cutting this here, and I gotta make sure it's a real straight cut. And if I do go off, I want to go off towards the way that'll have extra meat on there and I can grind it. So I think this is, you know, kind of the best way to do it. And then You definitely don't want to weld these in here. I feel like tacking it even is not a good idea because, if you spin it, it's going to dictate how the door bar kind of comes out of the car, and you want to make sure that it comes out in the right orientation. So I'm going to work on cutting this and then, probably fit it in there and tack it all up, and then catch up with you guys then. Completely forgot to get some footage of the bar that was in here. So definitely goes about twice as fast once you've done it on one side. So I cut these, with the Sawzall this time and got it a lot straighter, especially on this one down here. So I don't have to do as much grinding to kind of flatten it out, because this kind of sits in here at the orientation that this is coming out. So now that since I cut it nice and straight, I don't have to do a lot of grinding that I had to do on this, or on that side. So now obviously I got to cut this tube, and then you cut the tube and then you put these pieces on there. And lesson learned from that side is, you can put the other clevises on here. So you put this thing, let's see, we'll grab the pin, put it on here, hold it with some black tape, I showed you guys, and then you measure from this lower surface. I went from this higher surface here to try and leave myself some wiggle room, and ended up grinding a lot. So I'm gonna try and go to this surface on both sides, and then I won't have to do as much grinding. So definitely gonna save me some time. It's so much, you get so dirty when you're doing this, it kind of sucks, but I'm excited to have it done. So it's gonna be sweet. I basically in one day put these bars in, both those ones, and then these door bars. So once I get this done, I'm gonna feel very accomplished, and then hope to get the front struts on tomorrow, which won't be as much as a mission, but it will be a precise operation, because I'm gonna be cutting through this nice firewall plate, and also through the firewall over there. So I'm gonna get this done, and then I'll tag up with you guys before I go to bed. Ladies and gents, we freaking got it done. So basically I'm gonna wait until the door is on here to get the right swing out kind of angle. I haven't welded that, but I got this one tacked in, and I'm gonna wait as well to get it tacked into the actual door bar. So we got both of them done, and we got these freaking uprights back here completed, or in there, not completely welded, but completed for the most part, and I am freaking wiped. So got it all cleaned up in here, looks good, and I'm gonna call it a night. And tomorrow I'm gonna get the other side of the car on here, fender and door, and then get these door bars in here. So exciting stuff. And not the door bars, the front struts, and once those are in, that's gonna pretty much cap off the video. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Morning everyone, so back to it. So lesson learned from that side is I'm gonna put this here for when I'm putting the fender on. So I'm gonna roll the door over here and the fender and the inner wheel well, and get this all put back together so I can kind of finalize this door bar. I want to make sure that this swings out right, as I said yesterday. So I'm gonna get that on there, and I'll throw you guys on the time lapse. One thing I like to do for these front end bolts is clean up the threads, because usually they're a little rusty or have a little dirt on them. And then I clean them up with the wire brush and then put some grease on them, because I am going to take this apart and put it back together a few times. And some grease kind of gives you some lubrication, when you take them apart and put them back together. Got this side on here, so it's a little weird. I'm noticing that these gaps are really wide down here, which is, not ideal because, you're trying to get a good gap that's consistent. So I'm thinking that maybe these bushings are too tall or something. I might reach out to Detroit Speed and see what they think. But now that I got this on here, so I was planning on kind of running the bars like up to the very front, but it says in instructions you actually put them behind the front suspension, which is going to make my life a whole heck of a lot easier because, I have a real good shot right here from there to there. So what I'm going to do is basically I made this piece of brake line that kind of has the same contour as the actual bar itself. So that's going to allow me to translate, some information without having to drill such a big hole in the firewall. So you kind of drill a little pilot hole and then, through there, drill like whatever the diameter of the tubing is, pilot hole. And, after kind of, filling it out where you think it'll line up, and then it'll allow you to just make kind of one hole in the firewall, which should be good. So I'm gonna work on that and I will see you guys in a few minutes once I have made some headway. Major frickin' update. So got the driver's side, support in here. So I will have to relocate the fuse block down a little bit, but should be fine on that. And got it all notched and tacked in here on this one. So, I will have to modify this dash infill area here. And then on that side, I actually had to go through the dash. I tried to use a hole saw on it and that did not work. So definitely won't be the cleanest area over there, but I think for a race car, it should be acceptable. So one little trick that they have in the instructions is basically you take a piece of brake line and you kind of bend it to the contour of this tube. And then you can see how it's kind of bent to the contour. So, and then you use that to kind of check the fit before you're actually cutting on the tube. So, when I put this in here, it fits nicely. So it'll give me, I also kind of, marked the Sharpie, the angle that it needs to be cut like this. And on this one like that. So I'm gonna cut this one and get it all notched out. And then that'll be kind of the last tube. And then after that, I will be done. So see you guys in an hour or two. Pretty freaking stoked on the progress. So got this guy in there, that one done this weekend, freaking got that tube in there, and these other three. So we've definitely made some significant headway on this roll cage. So it feels good to be getting this done. And next time I'm here, I'll probably, I'll get it all finished welded up, and then I can start working on getting it ready for paint. So I'm gonna cap on the video here, or cap it off here, and I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you guys probably in a little bit. I'm trying to have a little work-life balance now that I've started a new job, but we're definitely gonna stay on this thing. So look forward to another video here soon. Hey, thanks for stopping into the Bluebird Enterprises YouTube channel. If you like what you saw, give me a big thumbs up, and hopefully you're leaving with a bigger smile than you came in with.